Whispers of the Forest, the Heart of the Woods. In a quaint village named Elderglen, nestled in a valley surrounded by towering mountains and vast meadows, there lay a mysterious wood known only as Silvendale. The villagers spoke of the forest in hushed tones, for it was said to be alive, filled with secrets and whispers that drifted through the trees like ghostly echoes. The young and the old warned of countless tales, trickster spirits, enchanted creatures, and a hidden power that thrummed beneath the roots of every ancient tree. Lila, an adventurous girl with a wild spirit and boundless curiosity, had always been enchanted by the stories of Silvendale. Unlike the other villagers, who feared the forest, she felt an undeniable pull toward its depths. Her mother, a weary widow who often sat by the hearth spinning yarns, would recount tales of the forest as a place of both wonder and danger. "Stay away from Silvendale at twilight, my dear," she would warn. "That is when the whispers grow loudest, and the shadows take on a life of their own." One crisp autumn morning, when the world was cloaked in shades of amber and marigold, Lila decided it was time to explore Silvendale. With her heart fluttering in anticipation, she packed a small satchel with bread, cheese, and her beloved journal, a place where she captured sketches of her dreams and fragments of stories. The air was crisp, and a soft wind rustled the leaves, as if coaxing her to embark on her adventure. As Lila stepped into the forest, a hush enveloped her. The towering trees, with their gnarled trunks and expansive canopies, stood like silent sentinels. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting a mosaic of dappled patterns on the ground. The path ahead was winding and narrow, veering left and right as if it had a mind of its own. The dance of shadows. With each step deeper into Silvendale, Lila felt a presence, something ethereal brushing against her consciousness. She consistently glanced around, half expecting to see woodland creatures staring back at her. Instead, she caught glimpses of movement from the corner of her eye, fleeting shadows that flitted between the trees before vanishing like smoke. "Hello?" she called, her voice hesitant. The only answer was the rustling of the leaves, each whispering its own secrets. Lila followed the path, captivated by the vibrant colors of the forest, emerald ferns, russet underbrush, and the golden hues of the sun-dappled air. Eventually, she stumbled upon a glade bathed in golden light. It opened up like a theatrical curtain, revealing an enchanting sight. A small pond lay in its center, surrounded by willows with cascading branches that seemed to cradle the water. The surface of the pond mirrored the sky, flecked with clouds drifting lazily. Lila approached, entranced by the shimmering water. As she peered into the pond, a soft voice sprouted from the depths, echoing like a long-forgotten memory. "Welcome, seeker of stories." The voice resonated with warmth and ancient wisdom. Lila gasped, stepping back in surprise. The whispers of the forest grew louder, filling the air with a symphony of sounds, birds chirping, leaves rustling, and a gentle hum that vibrated through the ground. "Who are you?" Lila whispered, her heart racing. "I am Aloan, spirit of the glade," the voice replied, materializing in luminous tendrils of light that danced above the water. "You are the first in many moons to step so boldly into our embrace." The keeper of secrets. Lila's heart swelled with wonder, for she had always believed that Silvendale harbored magic. "I've heard stories about the forest, about enchanted things and whispers. Is it true?" Aloan's glow brightened, and she seemed to smile. "Ah, tales of the forest are woven from the threads of truth and imagination. Each legend carries a fragment of reality, just as each leaf tells the story of a season. The forest is alive, teeming with spirits and memories of those who once walked these paths. Can you show me?" Lila begged, her eyes shimmering with excitement. With a gentle nod, Aloan floated gracefully to the edge of the pond, beckoning Lila closer. "Listen." She dipped her fingers into the water, and the surface shimmered, revealing images of ancient events. An elder druid, rooted in his studies, fierce battles fought by knights, and whispers of lovers who had stolen away into the forest under the cover of night. "You see, the forest holds witnesses to all that has transpired," Aloan spoke softly. "It remembers love, hope, sorrow, and joy. But it also remembers the darkness, a time when greed and cruelty sought to exploit its beauty. What happened? Lila asked, entranced by the images swirling before her. The balance was disrupted. Shadows crept into the hearts of those who sought to conquer rather than coexist. The elders of the forest united their magic to protect this land. Though they were successful, the scars lingered, manifesting in whispers that warned the unwary. Lila's heart ached at the thought of beauty marred by darkness. "How can I help?" she asked, her voice steady with determination. She felt as though she had found a mission greater than herself within the depths of Sylvandale. The call to adventure. Aloan's light flickered lightly, a reflection of the hope igniting within Lila. In order to heal the forest, you must gather the whispers, the stories forgotten and the truths lost. Seek the three spirits of Sylvandale, for they possess pieces of the past that together can restore harmony. Where do I find them? Lila asked eagerly. The first can be found in the Whispering Grove, where the trees sing tales to those who listen. The second resides by the Silver Brook, under the watchful gaze of the Moonstone. The third awaits at the Cliff of Echoes, where voices of the past linger for eternity, Aloan guided, her luminescence glowing brighter with each word. Lila felt a surge of excitement. "I'll do it. I will gather the whispers," she vowed, her spirit ignited with purpose. "Remember, child," Aloan cautioned, her voice gentle yet stern, "the path may not be easy. Shadows may tempt you to stray, but trust in the light you carry within." With that, Aloan's form faded like mist, leaving Lila standing at the edge of the pond, resolute and ready for the journey ahead. The Whispering Grove. The first location was nearby, for the Whispering Grove was known to the villagers. With renewed energy, Lila made her way through the vibrant underbrush, feeling the pulse of the forest reverberating beneath her feet. As she approached the grove, a sense of calm enveloped her. The trees loomed tall and proud, their trunks entwined in a dance, and their leaves shimmered with an unseen magic. Whispers floated through the air, barely discernible yet resonant with emotion. "Lila, Lila," they called, beckoning her closer. In the center of the grove stood a tree unlike any she had ever seen. A great oak, widely gnarled with a trunk that was simultaneously sturdy and inviting. "Can you hear our stories?" A voice echoed from the tree, rich and deep, like the rumble of distant thunder. "I can," Lila replied, placing her palm against the rough bark, feeling its heartbeat. "What stories do you have to share?" "We are the keepers of memory, woven into the fabric of this land," the tree whispered. "The cloud that learned to fly. In a vast and limitless sky, where shades of blue met the wispy streaks of white, there lived a little cloud named Nimbus. Unlike the other clouds, which were puffy and proud, Nimbus was small and timid. His fluff was thin and often dispersed under the sunlight, leaving him feeling small and insignificant compared to the grand, billowing clouds that roamed the heavens. Nimbus watched enviously as they floated gracefully, casting shadows on the earth below, while he struggled to stay together. Every day, Nimbus looked up to the soaring birds that danced among the clouds, threading through the air with such agility and ease. Their wings shimmered against the sunlight, and their songs echoed like laughter, painting pictures of freedom and joy. He longed to join them, to feel the thrill of the wind rushing by as he soared to new heights. But how could a little cloud like him ever hope to fly? One day, as Nimbus drifted aimlessly, he overheard a conversation between two majestic cumulonimbus clouds. They boasted of their recent adventures, stormy weathers they had conjured, raindrops that had nourished flowers, and thunder that had echoed like applause. Inspired by their stories, Nimbus approached them with a quiver in his voice. "How do you fly so high and create storms? I want to do that too." The older clouds chuckled softly, their voices rolling like distant thunder. "Little Nimbus, you must be strong and gather moisture, just as we do. Only then can you create the power needed to rise." Determined to prove himself, Nimbus began to gather moisture from the ocean below. He drifted over the waves, soaking in the humid air and feeling himself grow a little heavier, a little bigger. Each time he took in more moisture, His confidence grew. However, despite his efforts, Nimbus still felt small and frail. The vast blue sky seemed to mock him, a reminder of all the heights he could not reach. One breezy afternoon, while Nimbus was busy collecting moisture, a mischievous wind named Zephyr swirled by. With a playful giggle, he tousled Nimbus's fluffy edges. "Why do you look so forlorn, little cloud?" Zephyr asked, swirling around him in a playful dance. "I want to fly high and become powerful like the other clouds," Nimbus said, frustration bubbling in his voice. "But I don't know if I can." Zephyr paused, considering Nimbus's words. "You can. You just need to believe in yourself. Let me show you something." With that, Zephyr scooped up Nimbus with a powerful gust and sent him soaring into the higher altitudes. Nimbus gasped as he flew higher than he ever dared to dream. The earth turned into patches of green and brown below him, and the sun shone brighter at this altitude. "Oh, this is incredible," Nimbus exclaimed, a newfound joy blossoming within him. But just as quickly as it began, the wind lost strength, and Nimbus found himself tumbling back toward lower levels. Disheartened, Nimbus swirled around in despair, ebbing in and out of his fullness. It seemed every attempt to rise was met with failure. As he hovered, watching the grand clouds create magnificent storms, he felt a tear form in his misty body. "I wish I could soar like them." Suddenly, a wise old owl perched on a nearby branch heard Nimbus's thoughts. With feathers soft and wise eyes that gleamed like the stars, he fluttered up beside Nimbus. "Why do you weep, young cloud?" he hooted gently. "I want to be strong and fly as high as the others," Nimbus replied, wiping his wispy edges where the tear had once been. "But I just don't know how." The owl chuckled lightly, his voice calming like a soft breeze. "Strength comes not from size or fluffiness, dear cloud. It comes from within. You must embrace who you are and trust in your own unique abilities." With those words planted in his heart, Nimbus contemplated the owl's wisdom. It dawned on him that he had spent so long wishing to be like the others that he never embraced his own nature. Fueled by newfound resolve, Nimbus took to heart the idea of self-acceptance. He started to gather moisture again, but this time, he infused every drop with belief and purpose. Instead of simply accumulating water, he imagined each droplet nurturing his dream. The dream of flying freely, of becoming a storm that could quench the earth and bring joy. As he gathered more moisture and gained strength, he felt a strange energy beginning to swell within him. The other clouds noticed his changes and his determination. Their curiosity piqued. Reaching a new level of fullness, Nimbus felt bubbles forming deep within him, a spark of electricity humming and vibrating. It was then that a transformation began. The currents of air were crackling around him, and he felt the urge to rise and break free. With a powerful surge of energy, Nimbus felt himself rising higher and higher. He focused on his goal, believing in his newfound strength. Suddenly, a mighty storm of swirling winds enveloped him, lifting him high above the earth. The exhilarating sensation of flying, really flying, overwhelmed him. Nimbus was no longer just a small cloud. He was mighty and magnificent, the very storm he had yearned to become. As Nimbus honed his power, he began to shape the clouds around him. He danced in the air currents, twisting and twirling until he formed a storm that rumbled with excitement. Thunder rolled as he weaved through the sky, sprinkling rain that glistened like diamonds under the sun. He called forth the birds, the ones he once envied, and they soared beside him, singing praises to his newfound strength. As he danced amongst them, he realized that flight didn't come from wishing to be someone else, but from embracing who you are and believing that you, too, have the power to soar. Through the days that followed, Nimbus continued to grow in confidence, drawing water and creating even grander storms. He learned to share the joy of rain with the earth beneath, nourishing flowers and trees, and bringing smiles to the faces of those who felt the cool drops upon their skin. Nimbus became known as the Cloud of Dreams, small but powerful enough to make a difference and teach others that it's not the size of your fluff that matters, but the size of your heart and the strength of your belief. And whenever the wind rustled through the sky, He'd remember Zephyr's playful spirit and the owl's words. Nimbus had learned something invaluable. Everyone has their own journey, and the clouds that learn to embrace their nature could fly higher than they ever imagined. Thus, Nimbus continued to dance through the sky, embracing the vast wonders of the heavens. He was no longer merely a cloud. He was a storm, a friend to the birds, a nurturer of the earth, and above all, a reminder that even the smallest cloud has the power to fly. Whether high or low, Nimbus celebrated every moment, knowing that it was his very essence that made his flight possible, a flight that was uniquely his own. And so Nimbus soared on, painting the sky with the hues of his journey, white and fluffy with a heart full of dreams, soaring high, creating storms of joy, and learning that in every flight, no matter the height, lies the magic of believing in oneself. In the heart of an ancient, verdant forest, where the mist clung to the trees like ghostly veils and the sunlight dappled through the leaves in a dance of gold and green, there flowed a river unlike any other. It was not the color or the clarity of the water that made this river unique, but the sweet, haunting melody that it seemed to hum as it meandered through the forest. The locals called it the Singing River, and it was said to be a place of magic, where the very essence of nature came to life. In a small village nestled at the edge of this forest, lived a young girl named Luna. She was a curious and adventurous child, with eyes that sparkled like the stars she loved so much. Luna had a deep connection to the forest. It was her playground, her sanctuary, and her source of endless fascination. She would often venture into the woods, following the path of the singing river, listening to its melodies as she went. Luna's parents, both renowned musicians, had always encouraged her love for music and nature. They believed that the two were intertwined, and that the forest, with its myriad sounds and rhythms, was the greatest teacher of all. Luna's father, a skilled lute player, and her mother, a gifted singer, would often take her to the singing river to practice their art, drawing inspiration from the river's enchanting sounds. Luna, in turn, would sit on the banks, her young heart swelling with joy as she absorbed the melodies and harmonies that surrounded her. One summer, as the heat of the sun turned the forest into a lush, vibrant paradise, Luna's village faced a crisis. A drought had swept through the region, leaving the land parched and the rivers dry. The Singing River, which had always been a constant source of water and life, was now nothing more than a trickling stream, its once melodious hum reduced to a faint whisper. The crops withered, and the animals grew restless, their usual merriment replaced by a somber silence. Desperate to help, Luna's parents traveled far and wide, seeking the advice of wise elders and skilled healers. They returned with tales of ancient rituals and forgotten spells, but nothing seemed to bring the river back to its former glory. The village grew increasingly despondent, and even the youngest children could sense the weight of despair that hung over the community. One evening, as the sky bled shades of orange and pink, Luna sat by the river's edge, her heart heavy with the village's plight. She remembered the days when the river sang its joyful tunes, and she wondered if there was anything she could do to restore its voice. As she closed her eyes, allowing the memories to wash over her, she heard a faint, almost imperceptible melody that seemed to come from the very heart of the river. Opening her eyes, Luna saw a shimmering light in the water. It was as if the river itself was trying to communicate with her. Driven by a sudden surge of determination, she decided to follow this mysterious light, hoping it would lead her to a solution. The light guided Luna deeper into the forest, through thickets of brambles and over mossy rocks, until she reached a clearing she had never seen before. At the center of the clearing stood an ancient, gnarled tree, its branches reaching skyward like the arms of a guardian. The tree was surrounded by a circle of smaller, younger trees, their leaves rustling softly in the breeze. As Luna approached, the light from the river grew brighter, illuminating a small, silver door at the base of the ancient tree. With a mix of awe and trepidation, Luna pushed open the door and stepped inside. The interior of the tree was a vast, hollow chamber, filled with a soft, bluish glow. At the center of the chamber, a figure sat on a dais of shimmering rocks, playing a harp made of crystal and silver. The figure turned to Luna, and she saw a woman with long, flowing hair that shimmered like the river itself. Her eyes were the color of deep, clear water, and her presence filled the chamber with a sense of calm and power. "Welcome, Luna," the woman said, her voice as melodic as the river's song. "I am Melodia, the spirit of the singing river. I have been waiting for you." Luna's eyes widened in wonder. "Why me, Melodia? And why is the river no longer singing?" Melodia smiled, her expression both kind and sorrowful. "The river sings when it is happy, when it is in harmony with the world. The drought has caused a disharmony, and the river has lost its voice. But you, Luna, have a special connection to the river. Your heart is pure, and your love for nature is strong. You are the key to restoring the river's melody." Luna felt a surge of excitement mixed with a hint of fear. "What do I need to do, Melodia?" "Listen carefully," Melodia said, her fingers gliding over the harp strings, creating a beautiful, ethereal tune. "You must find the 7 waters of harmony, each representing a different aspect of the river's spirit. Only by bringing these waters back to the river can you restore its voice. The waters are hidden throughout the forest, each guarded by a creature that embodies the spirit of nature." Luna nodded, her resolve growing stronger. "I will do my best, Melodia, but I don't know where to start." Melodia rose from her dais and walked to Luna, placing a small, translucent stone in her hand. "This is the Heartstone. It will guide you to the waters of harmony. Trust your instincts, and the river will show you the way." With a deep breath, Luna stepped out of the tree and back into the forest, the Heartstone glowing softly in her palm. She knew this journey would be difficult, but she was determined to succeed. The first water of harmony, the water of joy, was guarded by a playful sprite named Lyrian. Luna found Lyrian near a small waterfall, where the water cascaded down in a shimmering veil. Lyrian, with her gossamer wings and laughter like tinkling bells, challenged Luna to dance with her. Luna, though nervous, allowed the Heartstone to guide her movements, and soon she was dancing with grace and abandon. Lyrian was delighted, and she presented Luna with a vial of the water of joy, its contents sparkling with happiness. Next, Luna sought the water of peace, which was hidden in a tranquil glade. The guardian of this water was a wise, ancient owl named Morwenna. Morwenna, with her deep, soulful eyes, challenged Luna to a riddle. Luna, thinking hard, used the wisdom she had gained from her parents and the forest to solve the riddle. Morwenna nodded approvingly and bestowed upon Luna the water of peace, its surface as still as a mirror. The third water of harmony, the water of strength, was guarded by a mighty stag named Alaric. Alaric, with his majestic antlers and powerful legs, challenged Luna to a race through the forest. Luna, though small, was swift and agile, and the Heartstone guided her through the dense undergrowth. She outran Alaric, and he, recognizing her determination, gave her the water of strength, its vial pulsing with a deep, rich energy. The fourth water of harmony, the water of wisdom, was hidden in a cave deep within the forest. The guardian of this water was a serpent named Seraphina, whose scales glimmered with every color of the rainbow. Seraphina spoke in riddles and parables, and Luna, using her keen mind and the lessons she had learned, answered her questions. Seraphina, impressed by Luna's wisdom, bestowed upon her the water of wisdom, its vial shimmering with a quiet, profound light. The fifth water of harmony, the water of love, was guarded by a spirit named Amara, who took the form of a gentle doe. Amara challenged Luna to show her a moment of true love. Luna, thinking of her parents and the village, sang a song of love and hope. Amara, moved to tears, presented Luna with the water of love, its vial filled with a warm, golden glow. The sixth water of harmony, the water of hope, was guarded by a young fawn named Felix. Felix, with his mischievous smile and nimble feet, challenged Luna to a game of hide and seek. Luna, using her knowledge of the forest and the Heartstone's guidance, found Felix in every hiding spot. Felix, laughing with delight, gave Luna the water of hope, its vial glowing with a bright, optimistic light. Finally, Luna sought the water of unity, which was hidden at the very source of the singing river. The guardian of this water was a dragon named Arinder, whose scales were as blue as the deepest part of the ocean. Erinder, with a voice that echoed through the forest, challenged Luna to unite all the waters she had collected. Luna, holding the vials in her hands, poured each one into a small, silver bowl. As the waters mixed, the bowl began to glow, and a beautiful, harmonious melody filled the air. Erinder, watching Luna with a sense of pride, nodded. "You have done well, child. Now, take this water of unity back to the river, and it will sing once more." Luna, her heart filled with hope and determination, made her way back to the village. She found the river where it was now nothing more than a shallow, whispered stream and poured the water of unity into it. As the water touched the river, a wave of energy surged through it, and the river began to flow again, its melody growing louder and more beautiful with each passing moment. The villagers, hearing the long-lost sound of the singing river, rushed to the banks. They saw Luna standing there, her face lit with a radiant smile, and they knew she had done the impossible. The drought began to lift, and soon, the land was once again lush and green. The crops flourished, and the animals returned to their joyful ways. Luna's parents, moved to tears, embraced her, proud of the courage and determination that had saved their village. Luna, with a heart full of joy, realized that her love for the river and her connection to nature had given her the strength to overcome any challenge. From that day on, the singing river sang louder than ever before, its melody a testament to the harmony that Luna had restored. The villagers, inspired by her bravery, began to care for the river and the forest with renewed respect, understanding that the health of the land was intertwined with their own. Luna, now a hero in her village, continued to explore the forest, her bond with nature and the river growing stronger with each passing day. She knew that as long as she had the heartstone and the love of her parents, she could face any challenge and bring harmony to the world. And so, the singing river continued to flow, its song a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope and love can triumph. Luna, the young girl who had listened to the river's call, had become a guardian of the forest, a protector of the natural world, and a beacon of hope for all who heard the beautiful melody of the singing river. Starfish dreams at sunset. In a small coastal town nestled between the rugged cliffs and the vast, serene ocean, there lived a young girl named Alara. Alara was a dreamer. Her eyes always sparkled with the wonder of the world, and her heart was as vast and deep as the sea itself. She spent her days wandering the shoreline, collecting seashells and watching the waves dance with the wind. But her favorite time of day was the sunset, when the sky turned into a canvas of vibrant hues and the ocean reflected the colors of the setting sun. Alara's family ran a quaint little beachside cafe, a place where locals and tourists alike would gather to enjoy the cool sea breeze and the warm glow of the evening. Her father, a skilled fisherman, and her mother, a talented chef, worked tirelessly to make the cafe a welcoming haven for all who visited. Alara's role was to greet the guests, help set the tables, and, most importantly, bring a sense of joy and curiosity to the atmosphere. One evening, as the sun began its slow descent, Alara decided to take a walk along the beach before starting her shift at the cafe. The sand was still warm from the day's heat, and the air was filled with the salty scent of the sea. She strolled along the water's edge, her bare feet sinking into the soft, golden grains. As she walked, she noticed something unusual. A single starfish, its body a deep purple, lying motionless in the shallow water. Alara knelt down, her fingers brushing against the starfish's delicate arms. It felt cold and lifeless, but there was a faint pulsing in its body, a sign that it was still alive. She gently lifted it and carried it closer to the waves, hoping the cool water would revive it. To her delight, the starfish began to move, its arms slowly unfolding as if it were waking from a long slumber. "Thank you, little one," the starfish whispered, its voice a mere breath. Alara was startled. She had never heard a starfish speak before. "You're welcome," she replied, her voice trembling with excitement. "Are you okay?" "I am now," the starfish said, "but I have been washed ashore many times. I am a guardian of the sea, tasked with protecting the balance of the ocean and its inhabitants. However, I am growing weaker, and I fear I may not be able to fulfill my duty much longer." Alara's eyes widened with concern. "What can I do to help you?" The starfish smiled, a gentle curve of its star-shaped body. "You can listen to my story, and perhaps it will inspire you to do great things for the sea and its creatures." And so, Alara sat down on the sand, her legs crossed, and listened as the starfish began to weave a tale of the ocean's mysteries and the challenges it faced. Long ago, when the world was young and the seas were vast and unexplored, the starfish were chosen by the ancient spirits of the ocean to be its guardians. They were given the power to heal and protect, to ensure that the delicate balance of the marine ecosystem was maintained. The starfish, with their 5 arms, symbolized the 5 elements of nature: earth, water, air, fire, and spirit, and were entrusted to keep them in harmony. However, as time passed, the world changed. Humans began to encroach upon the oceans, polluting the waters with their waste and overfishing the once abundant seas. The guardian starfish, led by the wise and ancient Grand Star, tried their best to restore the balance, but their efforts were in vain. The oceans grew sicker, and the starfish themselves began to lose their strength. The Grand Star, seeing the plight of the oceans and its creatures, called upon all the guardian starfish to gather in the heart of the sea. It was a place of great beauty, a hidden lagoon where the water was crystal clear and the coral reefs glowed with bioluminescent light. There, the Grand Star revealed a prophecy. A chosen one would come, a human who would hear the call of the sea and work to heal its wounds. Alara, who had never left her coastal town, was the unlikely candidate for this prophecy. But the starfish she had rescued that evening, known as Maris, believed that she was the one. "Alara," Maris said, "you have a special connection to the ocean. You have the power to inspire others to care for it as you do. If you can spread the message of conservation and respect for the sea, you may be the key to saving it." Alara's heart swelled with a mixture of fear and determination. She had always loved the ocean, but the idea of being a guardian seemed overwhelming. "How can I do this?" she asked. "I'm just one person." "You are one person with a big heart," Maris replied. "Start small and let your actions ripple out like the waves. Show others the beauty of the sea and the importance of protecting it. Lead by example, and you will find allies in your quest." Alara nodded, feeling a sense of purpose she had never known before. She placed Maris back into the water, and as it sank beneath the surface, it left her with a gift, a small, iridescent shell that shimmered with the colors of the sunset. "Keep this shell," Maris said. "It will remind you of your promise and give you the strength to carry on." Alara clutched the shell in her hand, her eyes glistening with tears of gratitude. She stood up, feeling the sand beneath her feet and the wind in her hair, and made a vow to herself and to Maris. The next day, Alara began her mission. She started by cleaning up the beach, picking up every piece of trash she found and encouraging others to join her. Her parents, noticing her newfound dedication, supported her efforts and even added a section to their cafe menu dedicated to ocean-friendly practices, using sustainable seafood and reducing plastic waste. Alara's enthusiasm was contagious. Soon, the entire town was rallying behind her, organizing beach cleanups, hosting educational workshops, and creating art installations that celebrated the beauty of the ocean. The local school invited Alara to speak to the students about marine conservation, and she shared her story with them, showing them the iridescent shell that Maris had given her. Her efforts did not go unnoticed. News of the small town's initiative spread, and visitors from far and wide came to see the change. They were inspired by Alara's passion and the community's commitment. The town became a model for other coastal areas, and soon, more and more people were taking action to protect the oceans. As the months went by, Alara's impact grew. She started a social media campaign, sharing photos and stories of the ocean's wonders and the importance of conservation. She wrote articles for local newspapers and gave talks at environmental conferences. Her message reached people of all ages, and the movement gained momentum. One evening, as Alara sat on the beach with her friends, watching the sunset, she felt a familiar presence. Maris emerged from the water, its body now more vibrant and full of life. "You have done well, Alara," Maris said. "The sea is beginning to heal, and your efforts have inspired others to do the same." Alara smiled, feeling a sense of pride and fulfillment. "I couldn't have done it without you, Maris. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." Maris nodded. "And you have shown the world that even the smallest actions can make a big difference. But remember, the journey is not over. There is still much work to be done, and the sea will always need its guardians." Alara stood up, the iridescent shell still clutched in her hand. "I will always be here for the sea, Maris, and I will continue to spread the message until every corner of the ocean is safe and healthy." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a final glow of gold and orange across the sky, Alara and Maris stood together, their bond stronger than ever. The shell in Alara's hand glowed softly, a reminder of her promise and the dreams that had started at sunset. From that day forward, Alara became known as the guardian of the sea, a beacon of hope for a world that needed more protectors. And every evening, as the sun set and the stars appeared, she would walk along the beach, dreaming of a future where the oceans would thrive once more and the starfish would dance with the waves, free and content. The story of Alara and Maris, of a young girl and a starfish who changed the world, became a legend told and retold by generations to come. And the sunset, once a simple moment of beauty, became a symbol of hope and the power of dreams to transform the world. The gentle breeze's goodnight hug, in the heart of a tranquil valley, where the mountains whispered secrets to the clouds and the river sang lullabies to the stones, there lived a small village called Whisperwind. The village was known for its gentle people and its even gentler breeze, which seemed to have a life of its own. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, the breeze would wander through the village, offering comfort and solace to all who felt its touch. One particularly warm summer evening, the villagers gathered in the town square, a spacious area surrounded by ancient oak trees that had stood for centuries. The air was filled with the scent of blooming wildflowers and the gentle hum of cicadas. Children played around the fountain, their laughter as light as the breeze itself, while adults sat on benches, sharing stories and sipping lemonade. In the center of the square, there was an old stone statue of a woman with outstretched arms, her face serene and inviting. The villagers called her the guardian of the wind, and they believed she was the embodiment of the gentle breeze that brought peace to their lives. Every evening, the breeze would swirl around the statue, as if in a dance, before continuing its journey through the village. Among the villagers was a young girl named Alara, with eyes as deep and blue as the evening sky. Alara had a special connection with the breeze. She could feel its presence more acutely than anyone else, and she often spoke to it, whispering her hopes and dreams. The breeze, in turn, seemed to respond to her, caressing her cheek and ruffling her hair. Alara's father, a skilled blacksmith, had forged a small, intricate wind chime for her, using the finest materials and imbuing it with the essence of the valley's most cherished memories. Whenever the breeze blew through the chime, it produced a melody that was both soothing and enchanting, as if the very fabric of the village's history was singing through it. That evening, as the sun's last rays faded, Alara sat on the edge of the fountain, her wind chime hanging from a nearby branch. She closed her eyes and breathed in the sweet, floral air, feeling the breeze dance around her. "Good evening, gentle breeze," she murmured, her voice soft and warm. "I have so much to tell you today." The breeze seemed to pause, gathering itself before it gently enveloped Alara in a warm, comforting hug. It was as if the breeze itself had a heart, beating in rhythm with hers. Alara smiled, feeling a sense of peace and belonging that she could never quite find anywhere else. "Today, I helped plant the new garden near the river," she said, her voice filled with pride. "The flowers are just starting to bloom, and they're so beautiful. I think they're going to make the village even more magical." The breeze rustled the leaves of the nearby trees, as if nodding in agreement. Alara continued, "I also started a new painting. It's of the mountains at sunset, with the clouds dancing around them. I hope it turns out as beautiful as the real thing." As she spoke, the breeze carried the scent of the blooming flowers, wrapping Alara in a gentle, floral embrace. She felt a surge of inspiration and imagined the colors swirling on her canvas, each brushstroke guided by the wind. "Sometimes I feel a little lonely," Alara admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Even though I have my family and friends, there are moments when I feel like I'm the only one who understands the breeze. It's a special bond, but it can be a bit isolating." The breeze did not leave her side, but instead, it intensified its embrace, as if to reassure her. It was a warm, comforting sensation, like being wrapped in a soft, invisible blanket. Alara opened her eyes, feeling a newfound strength. "Thank you, gentle breeze," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. "You always make me feel better." As the night deepened, the villagers began to return to their homes, the square gradually emptying. Alara remained by the fountain, her wind chime ringing softly in the breeze. She noticed a small, white feather floating in the air, caught in the wind's embrace. It drifted gently toward her, landing in her lap. Alara picked up the feather, feeling its lightness and the way it seemed to shimmer with a subtle, inner light. She realized that the feather was not just a feather. It was a message from the guardian of the wind, a symbol of the bond she shared with the breeze. "Perhaps it's time to share my gift with others," Alara thought. She stood up, the wind chime in one hand and the feather in the other. She decided to take a walk through the village, hoping to spread the breeze's comfort to those who might need it. As she walked, the breeze followed her, guiding her to the homes of her neighbors. She knocked on the door of an elderly woman named Mrs. Willow, who lived alone in a small cottage on the edge of the village. The door creaked open, and Mrs. Willow's face lit up with a smile. "Alara, dear, what brings you here so late?" she asked, her voice warm but tinged with a hint of loneliness. "I wanted to share something special with you," Alara said, stepping inside. She held up the wind chime, and as the breeze blew through it, the melody filled the room. Mrs. Willow's eyes widened in wonder, and a peaceful smile spread across her face. "Oh, Alara, it's beautiful," she exclaimed. "It's like the breeze is here with us." Alara handed the feather to Mrs. Willow. "This is a gift from the breeze. Keep it close, and whenever you feel lonely, think of the wind and its gentle embrace." Mrs. Willow accepted the feather, her eyes misting with tears. "Thank you, dear. I will." Alara continued her journey, visiting each home in the village. She shared the wind chime's melody and the feather with everyone, spreading the breeze's comfort and warmth. The village, which had been quiet and somber, began to fill with a sense of calm and joy. The breeze seemed to grow stronger, as if it too was happy to see its gift being shared. Finally, Alara reached the edge of the village, where the forest began. She sat down on a wooden bench, the wind chime still in her hand. The breeze wrapped around her, and this time, it felt different. It was not just a gentle hug, but a deep, heartfelt embrace, as if the wind itself was thanking her for her kindness. Alara closed her eyes, feeling the breeze's warmth and the soft rustling of the leaves. She let her mind drift, imagining the valley as it was when the guardian of the wind first appeared, filled with hope, love, and the gentle touch of the wind. As she sat there, she felt a connection that went beyond words. The breeze was not just a natural phenomenon. It was a living, breathing entity that cared for the village and its people. Alara realized that her special bond with the breeze was not a burden, but a gift, one that she could use to bring joy and comfort to others. The night grew darker, and the stars began to twinkle in the sky. Alara knew it was time to return home. She stood up, the wind chime still in her hand, and took one last deep breath of the evening air. The breeze gave her one final, gentle hug before it moved on, continuing its nightly journey through the village. Alara walked home, her heart light and full of hope. She knew that the breeze would always be there, a constant presence in her life, and she was grateful for the connection they shared. As she reached her doorstep, she placed the wind chime outside, where it would ring softly throughout the night, a reminder of the gentle breeze's goodnight hug. Inside her home, Alara's family welcomed her with warm smiles. Her father, noticing the peaceful look on her face, asked, "How was your evening, sweetheart?" Alara smiled, her eyes shining. "It was beautiful. The breeze and I had a wonderful time, and I shared its gift with the village. I think tonight, everyone will sleep a little better." Her mother hugged her, feeling the warmth that radiated from her daughter. "You have a special heart, Alara. The wind is lucky to have you." Alara climbed into bed, the feather clutched in her hand. As she drifted off to sleep, she felt the breeze one last time, a gentle, comforting presence that whispered goodnight and promised to be with her always. And so, the gentle breeze's goodnight hug became a nightly ritual in Whisperwind. Each evening, the villagers would sit outside, listening to the wind chime and feeling the breeze's embrace. Alara's gift had brought the village closer together, and the breeze, once a solitary companion, had become a symbol of unity and love. In the years that followed, Alara grew into a wise and kind woman, her bond with the breeze growing stronger with each passing day. The village thrived, and the legend of the guardian of the wind and her faithful companion, Alara, became a tale that was told to every new generation, a reminder of the power of love, connection, and the gentle hug of the night. Leo and the fireflies dance. In the heart of a lush, verdant forest, where the towering trees whispered secrets to the wind and the rivers sang in melodic streams, there lived a young boy named Leo. Leo was a curious and adventurous child, with a heart that yearned to explore the wonders of nature. His village, nestled at the edge of the forest, was a quaint and peaceful place, but it was the forest that held his true fascination. Leo's father, a skilled woodcutter, often took him into the forest to teach him the art of identifying different types of trees and the sounds of the animals that called it home. From a young age, Leo learned to respect the forest and all its inhabitants. He knew that each tree, each blade of grass, and each creature played a vital role in the ecosystem, and he felt a deep connection to the land. One summer evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky filled with the deep hues of twilight, Leo decided to venture into the forest alone. He had heard tales of the magical fireflies that danced in the heart of the woods, and he was determined to witness their enchanting performance. Armed with nothing but a small lantern and his boundless curiosity, Leo stepped into the forest. The air was cool and fresh, carrying the scent of pine and earth. The path was familiar, but tonight it seemed to lead him to new, undiscovered territories. As he walked, the light from his lantern danced on the ground, casting long shadows that seemed to come to life. The deeper Leo ventured, the darker the forest became. The canopy of leaves overhead blocked out much of the moonlight, and the only sounds were the rustling of leaves and the distant calls of nocturnal creatures. Leo's heart raced with excitement and a hint of fear, but he pressed on, driven by the promise of the fireflies' dance. Finally, after what felt like hours, Leo reached a clearing. The sight that greeted him was nothing short of magical. The clearing was bathed in a soft, golden light, and hundreds of fireflies were swirling and dancing in the air. Their tiny, glowing bodies formed intricate patterns, as if performing a ballet to the rhythm of the night. Leo was captivated. He had never seen anything so beautiful. The fireflies seemed to sense his presence, and slowly, they began to gather around him. Leo watched in awe as the fireflies formed a circle around him, their lights pulsing in a mesmerizing rhythm. Suddenly, a single firefly, larger and brighter than the others, landed on Leo's outstretched hand. Its light was a warm, comforting glow that made Leo feel as if he was part of something greater. The firefly looked up at him with what Leo imagined to be eyes, and then it began to speak in a language he could somehow understand. "Greetings, Leo. We are the guardians of this forest, and we have been waiting for you," the firefly said, its voice a gentle hum. Leo was taken aback. "For me? Why? What do you want?" The firefly smiled, a movement that seemed to make its light flicker in a playful manner. "We need your help. The forest is in danger. A dark force is gathering, and it threatens to extinguish our light and destroy the balance of nature." Leo's heart sank. He had always wanted to protect the forest, and now he had the chance. "What can I do to help?" The Dark One, as we call it, is a malevolent spirit that thrives on fear and darkness. It has been growing stronger, and it seeks to spread its influence throughout the forest. You must find the heart of the forest, a mystical tree that holds the power to counteract the Dark One's influence. But it is hidden deep within the woods, and guarded by challenges that only a brave and pure-hearted soul can overcome. Leo nodded, feeling a surge of determination. I will do it. I will find the heart of the forest and save the fireflies. The firefly hopped onto Leo's shoulder. We will guide you. Follow the light and trust your heart. With the firefly leading the way, Leo set off into the forest. The path was no longer familiar, and the darkness seemed to close in around him. But the firefly's light was a beacon, and Leo followed it with unwavering resolve. The first challenge came in the form of a thick, thorny briar that blocked the path. The briar was alive, and it seemed to reach out to Leo, trying to snag him with its sharp thorns. Leo felt a wave of fear, but he remembered the firefly's words. He closed his eyes and focused on his love for the forest, imagining a world where the Dark One had no power. When he opened his eyes, the briar began to wither, and a clear path appeared before him. Next, Leo came to a deep, dark ravine. The bottom was shrouded in shadows, and the only way across was a narrow, rickety bridge. Leo hesitated, but the firefly encouraged him. Trust the bridge, Leo. It is strong and will not break. Your faith is what gives it strength. Leo took a deep breath and stepped onto the bridge. With each step, the bridge seemed to solidify, and the shadows receded. When he reached the other side, he felt a sense of accomplishment and a deeper bond with the forest. As Leo continued his journey, he faced more challenges. He had to outsmart a mischievous sprite who tried to lead him astray, and he had to find the hidden entrance to a cave by solving a riddle. Each challenge tested his courage, wisdom, and compassion, but with the firefly's guidance, he overcame them all. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Leo stood before a massive, ancient tree, the heart of the forest. Its trunk was thick and gnarled, and its leaves shone with a radiant light. At the base of the tree, Leo found a small, glowing crystal. He knew this was the key to defeating the Dark One. Leo approached the crystal, and as he did, he felt a presence. The Dark One appeared before him, a shadowy figure that seemed to absorb all the light around it. Leo's heart pounded in his chest, but he stood his ground. "Foolish boy," the Dark One hissed. "You think you can stop me? I will consume this forest and all its light." Leo held up the crystal, and it began to glow brighter. "You are wrong. The light of the forest is strong, and it will never be extinguished. I will protect it." The Dark One lunged at Leo, but as it did, the crystal emitted a blinding light. The shadowy figure recoiled, and the light began to push it back. Leo felt a surge of power, and he channeled all his love and determination into the crystal. The light grew stronger, and the Dark One was forced to retreat, its influence waning. Leo knew he had to act quickly. He placed the crystal at the base of the heart of the forest, and it sank into the ground, merging with the tree. The tree began to glow, and the light spread throughout the forest, driving away the darkness. As the forest was bathed in a warm, golden glow, Leo felt a sense of peace and triumph. He turned to the firefly, which was now glowing brighter than ever. "Thank you, little friend. I couldn't have done it without you." The firefly smiled, its light dimming slightly as it replied, "You are a true guardian of the forest, Leo. Your heart is pure, and your spirit strong. The forest will always be safe with you." Leo smiled back, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. He knew that his journey was far from over, but he was ready to protect the forest and its inhabitants for as long as he could. As he made his way back to the village, the fireflies continued to dance around him, their light a symbol of the victory they had shared. Leo's heart was filled with joy and pride, and he knew that he had found his true purpose in life. From that day forward, Leo became known as the guardian of the forest. He spent his days exploring the woods, learning more about its secrets, and protecting it from any who sought to harm it. The fireflies always watched over him, and their dance became a nightly ritual, a reminder of the bond between man and nature. And so, the forest remained a place of beauty and wonder, thanks to the brave and selfless actions of a young boy and the magical fireflies who guided him. Leo's story became a legend, told to generations of children, inspiring them to cherish and protect the natural world around them. the sleepy mountains of Snowyville. In the heart of the vast, frozen tundra, nestled between the whispering winds and the blinding white snow, lay a quaint little village known as Snowyville. The village, with its cobblestone streets and wooden cottages, was a haven of warmth and camaraderie. But the true gem of Snowyville was the towering, majestic Sleepy Mountains that loomed in the distance, their peaks shrouded in perpetual mist and their slopes blanketed in a layer of snow so thick it seemed to have been woven from the clouds themselves. The Sleepy Mountains were more than just a scenic backdrop. They were a part of Snowyville's soul. For generations, the villagers had revered these mountains, believing they were inhabited by ancient spirits who watched over the town and granted it peace and prosperity. The mountains were a symbol of hope and a source of countless tales and legends, passed down from one generation to the next. The legend of the Sleepy Mountains. One of the most famous legends spoke of a great, slumbering dragon named Zephyr, who was said to dwell deep within the heart of the mountains. Zephyr was a benevolent creature, his breath capable of warming the coldest hearts and his dreams filled with visions of beauty and serenity. The villagers believed that as long as Zephyr remained asleep, Snowyville would be blessed with tranquility and abundance. However, if Zephyr were ever to wake, the village would face great turmoil and danger. This legend was not just a bedtime story. It was a guiding principle for the villagers. They lived in harmony with nature, respecting the land and the creatures that called it home. The village elder, a wise and kind man named Elder Thorn, was the keeper of this legend and the protector of the village's traditions. He had lived in Snowyville all his life and had seen the mountains change with the seasons, always remaining a constant presence in the lives of the villagers. The arrival of the wanderer. One crisp winter morning, as the first rays of sunlight glinted off the frost-covered roofs of Snowyville, a stranger arrived. He was a wanderer, a man with no home and no particular destination, driven by a restless spirit and a desire to explore the unknown. His name was Finn, and he was greeted with curiosity and caution by the villagers. Finn was a tall, lanky figure with a rugged face and eyes that sparkled with the thrill of adventure. He carried a small, worn-out pack and a long, sturdy staff, and his presence stirred a sense of unease among the older villagers. Elder Thorn, sensing the stranger's arrival, made his way to the village square to meet him. "Welcome, traveler," he said, his voice warm but wary. "What brings you to our humble village?" Finn offered a friendly smile. "I am a wanderer, seeking new places and new stories. I heard of the Sleepy Mountains and the legends that surround them. I came to see for myself if they are as magical as they say." Elder Thorn's expression softened, but a hint of concern lingered in his eyes. The Sleepy Mountains are indeed a place of great mystery and power, but they are not to be taken lightly. Many have attempted to climb them and have never returned. The spirits of the mountains guard their secrets closely. Finn nodded, his curiosity piqued. "I understand, Elder, but I have a strong feeling that the mountains have something important to show me. I promise to be respectful and cautious." Elder Thorn studied the young man for a moment before nodding. "Very well, but do not forget your promise. The mountains are not just a challenge to be conquered, but a living entity to be revered." The climb begins. Finn spent the next few days in Snowyville, learning more about the village and its traditions. He helped the villagers with their daily chores, chopping wood and tending to the animals, and in return, they shared their stories and wisdom with him. Finn was particularly fascinated by the tales of Zephyr, the sleeping dragon, and the idea that the mountains were a living, breathing part of the village's legacy. On the morning of the fourth day, Finn set out to climb the Sleepy Mountains. The villagers gathered to see him off, their faces a mix of hope and trepidation. Elder Thorn placed a small, intricately carved amulet in Finn's hand. This amulet has been passed down through generations of our village. It is said to protect those who venture into the mountains. Keep it close, and may the spirits guide you safely. Finn clasped the amulet tightly and bowed his head in gratitude. "Thank you, Elder. I will return with the stories the mountains choose to share." The ascent. The journey up the Sleepy Mountains was arduous. The snow was deep and heavy, and the wind bit at Finn's face like 1,000 tiny needles. He pressed onward, his staff digging into the snow with each step, and the amulet around his neck a constant reminder of the village's trust in him. As he climbed higher, the world around him transformed. The trees thinned, and the air grew thinner, making each breath a labor. The snow beneath his feet turned to ice, and the path became treacherous. But Finn's determination was unwavering. He knew that the stories he sought would not be found at the base of the mountain, but at its peak. Hours turned into days, and Finn found himself in a realm of breathtaking beauty. The snow was pristine, untouched by human hands, and the sky above was a canvas of deep blue, punctuated by the occasional glint of a distant star. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the landscape, Finn came upon a hidden valley, a place of utter stillness and peace. In the center of the valley, a small, crystal-clear pond shimmered in the moonlight. The pond was surrounded by ancient, gnarled trees, their branches heavy with snow. Finn approached the pond, his heart racing with anticipation. As he knelt by the water's edge, he saw his reflection, but it was not just his face that stared back. In the depths of the pond, a figure began to form, a dragon with scales that glinted like silver and eyes that burned with an otherworldly light. Zephyr, the dragon's dream. Finn, the dragon's voice echoed in his mind, deep and resonant. You have come far and faced many challenges. What is it you seek here? Finn's breath caught in his throat. I seek the stories of the mountains, the secrets they hold. I want to understand the magic that lies within them. Zephyr's eyes glowed with understanding. The mountains are not just a physical presence. They are a living history, a collection of dreams and memories. To see their true beauty, you must look deeper than the surface. The dragon's form began to shift, and the world around Finn turned to a kaleidoscope of colors and sounds. He found himself transported to a time long ago, a time when the mountains were young and the world was still new. The first vision. Finn saw a group of ancient villagers, their faces etched with determination and hope. They were building the first homes of Snowyville, crafting them from the very wood of the mountains. The spirits of the land watched over them, guiding their hands and hearts. As the village grew, so did the bond between the people and the mountains. The first elder, a wise woman named Lyra, performed a ritual to ensure that this bond would never be broken. She called upon Zephyr to watch over the village, promising that the people would always respect and honor the land. Zephyr's breath warmed the air, and the village flourished. The winters were mild, the summers bountiful, and the people lived in harmony with nature. The dragon's presence was a constant source of comfort and protection, and the villagers knew that as long as Zephyr slept, they were safe. The second vision. The vision changed, and Finn found himself in a time of great peril. A dark force had risen in the north, a storm of shadow and ice that threatened to consume everything in its path. The villagers of Snowyville, led by a brave young man named Eric, prepared to defend their home. But they were outnumbered and outmatched, and the storm seemed unstoppable. Eric, driven by a deep love for his village, climbed the sleepy mountains, seeking Zephyr's help. As he reached the peak, he was met by the dragon, who spoke to him in a voice that was both ancient and kind. Eric, the storm you face is a test, a challenge to show the strength of your bond with the mountains. If you can prove that you are worthy, I will grant you the power to protect your home. Eric performed a ritual at the summit, pouring his heart and soul into the act. He vowed to protect the land and the people, to live in harmony and to never forget the bond they shared. Zephyr's scales shimmered, and a warm, golden light enveloped the village. The storm was turned back, and peace was restored. The third vision. Finn's final vision took him to a time of great change. The world had grown, and the village had grown with it. The people of Snowyville had begun to forget the old ways, to take the mountains for granted. The bond between the village and the land was weakening, and the spirits of the mountains grew restless. A young girl named Alara, the great-granddaughter of Eric, felt the call of the mountains. She saw the village changing, and she knew that something needed to be done. Alara climbed the sleepy mountains, seeking to rekindle the bond that had once been so strong. At the summit, she found Zephyr, who was no longer asleep but watched over the village with a sense of sadness. Alara, the bond between us has grown thin. If you can find a way to restore it, the mountains will once again protect your home. Alara spent months in the mountains, learning the old rituals and the secrets of the land. She returned to the village with a renewed sense of purpose, and she began to teach the people about the importance of their bond with the mountains. Slowly, the village transformed, and the bond was strengthened. Zephyr's eyes glowed with approval, and the mountains once again became a source of peace and prosperity. The return. Finn awoke from the visions, his mind filled with the stories of the past. He understood now the true meaning of the sleepy mountains and the importance of the bond between the land and the people. As he made his way back down the mountain, the air around him seemed lighter, the snow softer. When he returned to Snowyville, the villagers were waiting for him, their faces filled with curiosity and relief. Finn shared his stories, the tales of Lyra, Eric, and Alara, and the importance of respecting the land and the spirits that watched over it. The villagers listened with rapt attention, their hearts swelling with pride and a renewed sense of connection to the mountains. Elder Thorn smiled, a glint of tears in his eyes. Finn, you have done what few have ever accomplished. You have seen the true heart of the Sleepy Mountains. May your stories inspire our people to remember and honor the bond that has kept us safe for so long. The legacy continues. Finn stayed in Snowyville for many more days, sharing his stories and learning from the villagers. He became a beloved figure in the community, a bridge between the past and the present. The village thrived, and the bond between the people and the mountains was stronger than ever. Years passed, and Finn eventually left Snowyville, but the stories he had shared lived on. The villagers continued to respect the land, to perform the old rituals, and to honor Zephyr, the sleeping dragon. The Sleepy Mountains remained a constant presence, a symbol of the village's strength and resilience. And so, the legend of the Sleepy Mountains of Snowyville continued, a tale of magic, tradition, and the unbreakable bond between a people and their land. The mountains stood tall and proud, watching over the village and its people, ensuring that the stories of the past would never be forgotten. Bloomed the Sleepy Garden Fairy. In the heart of the Whispering Woods, where the trees swayed gently with the breeze and the flowers bloomed in a rainbow of colors, there lived a small, sleepy garden fairy named Bloom. Bloom was unlike any other fairy in the woods. While her sisters and brothers flitted about with boundless energy, planting seeds, watering flowers, and spreading magic, Bloom preferred to spend her days curled up in the softest, most comfortable places she could find, often falling into a deep, dreamy slumber. Bloom had always been a bit of a mystery to the other fairies. Her long, golden hair was often tangled from her frequent naps, and her wings, although beautifully iridescent, seemed to flutter lazily, as if they too were trying to catch a few more winks. Despite her sleepy nature, the fairies of the Whispering Woods loved her for her gentle soul and her unique ability to make any plant grow simply by touching it, even in her sleep. This gift made her indispensable, especially during the winter solstice, when the woods needed a touch of life to stave off the cold. One crisp autumn morning, as the leaves painted the forest floor in shades of gold and crimson, the fairies gathered around the great oak tree, the heart of the Whispering Woods. The great oak was ancient, its trunk wide and gnarled, and its branches stretched high into the sky, providing shelter and wisdom to all who sought it. Today, the fairies had convened to discuss the upcoming winter solstice, a time when the woods needed the most care and magic. Queen Fern, the wise and regal leader of the fairies, stepped forward, her green dress rustling like leaves in the wind. "My dear fairies," she began, her voice melodic and soothing, "the winter solstice is upon us, and we must prepare the woods for the coldest months. The plants need your magic, and the animals need your warmth. Each of you has a vital role to play, but today, I have a special task for Bloom." The fairies murmured in curiosity, glancing at Bloom, who was half asleep in a nearby patch of moss. Queen Fern continued, "Bloom, my dear, your gift is essential. The Whispering Woods need you to ensure that the plants remain strong and vibrant throughout the winter. I know you love to sleep, but will you please be vigilant and help us?" Bloom stirred, her large, dreamy eyes fluttering open. She yawned widely, a small smile playing on her lips. "Of course, Queen Fern," she said, her voice soft and gentle. "I will do my best." The fairies clapped and cheered, but Bloom's promise was met with a mix of hope and concern. They knew how much she loved to sleep, and they worried that she might not be able to stay awake long enough to fulfill her task. Determined to prove herself, Bloom flew to the enchanted garden, a secluded spot in the woods where the most delicate and rare plants grew. The garden was her sanctuary, a place where she felt most at peace. As she landed on a bed of violets, the flowers around her began to bloom, their petals unfurling in response to her touch. Bloom worked tirelessly, moving from one plant to another, ensuring that each received a gentle touch of her magic. The garden came to life around her, the colors becoming more vibrant and the scent of blooming flowers filling the air. However, as the sun began to set, Bloom felt her eyelids growing heavy. She yawned, trying to shake off the drowsiness, but it was no use. She found a cozy spot under a large, sheltered fern and laid down, promising herself a quick nap. Hours passed, and Bloom awoke to the sound of rustling leaves and whispers. She opened her eyes to find a group of fairies gathered around her, their faces a mix of worry and relief. "Bloom, you were asleep for so long," one of them said, her voice tinged with concern. "We were worried you wouldn't wake up." Bloom sat up, feeling a pang of guilt. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice filled with sincerity. "I didn't mean to sleep so long. Let's get back to work." With renewed determination, Bloom set out to finish her task. She flew to the edge of the enchanted garden, where a cluster of snowdrops were struggling to grow. As she touched each one, the snowdrops began to bloom, their delicate white petals standing out against the darkening sky. Bloom's heart swelled with pride, and she felt a surge of energy she hadn't known she possessed. However, as the night deepened, the air grew colder, and the wind began to howl. Bloom's wings grew heavy, and her body ached from the long day's work. She knew she needed to stay awake, but the pull of sleep was too strong. She found another cozy spot beneath a warm, protective blanket of fallen leaves, and once again, she drifted into a deep sleep. The next morning, Queen Fern visited the enchanted garden to check on Bloom's progress. To her surprise, the garden was more beautiful than ever before. The snowdrops were in full bloom, and the other plants seemed to have grown overnight. Queen Fern smiled, realizing that even in her sleep, Bloom's magic was still working its wonders. But the work was far from over. The winter solstice was approaching, and the woods needed more than just beautiful flowers. They needed the warmth of the fairies to keep the animals safe and to ensure that the plants wouldn't freeze. Queen Fern decided to take matters into her own hands. She gathered the other fairies and explained Bloom's unique gift. "My dear fairies," Queen Fern said, "Bloom's magic is powerful, even in her sleep. We need to find a way to harness it and keep her safe at the same time. I propose we create a protective circle around her, a place where she can sleep while her magic continues to spread." The fairies agreed, and they set to work. They collected the most comfortable leaves, the softest petals, and the warmest moss to create a cozy, circular bed for Bloom. They surrounded it with a ring of enchanted flowers, each one infused with the magic of the fairies. The circle was designed to amplify Bloom's magic, allowing it to reach every corner of the Whispering Woods. As the winter solstice arrived, the fairies brought Bloom to the protective circle. She lay down, feeling the warmth and comfort of her new bed. The fairies sang a lullaby, their voices harmonizing with the wind. Bloom closed her eyes, and as she fell into a deep, peaceful sleep, her magic began to work. Throughout the night, the fairies watched as the Whispering Woods transformed. The plants glowed with a gentle, golden light, and the air grew warmer. The animals, who had been hiding from the cold, emerged, feeling the warmth and protection of the fairies' magic. By morning, the woods were a marvel of beauty and life, a testament to Bloom's unique gift. When Bloom awoke, she was greeted by the sight of the transformed Whispering Woods. The fairies cheered, and Queen Fern thanked her with a warm embrace. "Bloom, your magic is a gift beyond measure," Queen Fern said. "You may be a sleepy fairy, but you have brought life and warmth to our woods. We are grateful for you." Bloom blushed, her heart filled with joy. She realized that her gift, while different from others, was just as important. She promised to be more vigilant, but she also knew that her sleepy nature was part of who she was. From that day forward, Bloom continued to care for the enchanted garden, and the fairies learned to embrace her unique way of spreading magic. The Whispering Woods thrived under the care of all the fairies, but none more so than the Sleepy Garden Fairy who, even in her dreams, brought life and beauty to the world around her. The Moonlit Meadow's Secret. In the heart of a quaint village nestled among rolling hills and whispering forests, there lay a meadow bathed in the silvery glow of the moon. This meadow was unlike any other, for it held a secret that had been whispered through generations, yet never fully unraveled. Known as the Moonlit Meadow, it was a place of enchantment, where the air was sweet with the scent of wildflowers and the grass shimmered like a carpet of stars. The village of Eldenwood. Eldenwood was a village of modest cottages with thatched roofs and cobblestone paths. The people here were simple, hardworking, and deeply connected to the land. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the villagers would gather by the old oak tree at the village square, sharing tales and laughter. But one story, more than any other, captured their imaginations: the legend of the Moonlit Meadow. The legend. According to the legend, the Moonlit Meadow had been blessed by the moon goddess herself. Centuries ago, she had descended upon the meadow to grant a wish to the purest of hearts. A young shepherd named Aidan, known for his kindness and wisdom, had stumbled upon her. The moon goddess, impressed by his virtues, offered him a wish. Aidan, thinking of his village, wished for a place of peace and prosperity where the people could find solace and joy. The moon goddess smiled and bestowed her blessing upon the meadow, making it a sanctuary of mystical beauty. However, the meadow had a condition. It would only reveal its true magic to those who entered with pure hearts and intentions. Over the years, many had tried to uncover the meadow's secrets, but only a few had succeeded. The meadow remained a symbol of hope and mystery, a place where dreams and reality intertwined. The arrival of Alara. One summer, a young woman named Alara arrived in Eldenwood. She was a wanderer, driven by a deep curiosity and a desire to explore the world. Alara had heard stories of the Moonlit Meadow and was captivated by the idea of a place where the celestial and terrestrial worlds met. She decided to stay in the village for a while, hoping to unravel the meadow's secret. Alara was welcomed with open arms by the villagers. They were intrigued by her tales of far-off lands and her passion for uncovering the unknown. She quickly became a part of the community, helping with the harvest and sharing her knowledge of herbs and healing. Her presence brought a new energy to the village, and the children adored her, often following her around, eager to hear more stories. The night of the full moon. As the days turned into weeks, Alara grew more determined to find the meadow's secret. She spent her days exploring the surrounding forests, speaking with the elderly villagers, and studying ancient texts. Her quest became the talk of the village, and many began to join her in her search, hoping to witness the meadow's magic firsthand. Finally, the night of the full moon arrived. The villagers gathered in the meadow, their eyes filled with anticipation. The air was cool and the sky was clear, the moon casting a gentle, silvery light over the landscape. Alara, dressed in a flowing white gown, led the procession, her heart pounding with excitement and a hint of fear. As they entered the meadow, a hush fell over the crowd. The grass seemed to glow from within, and the scent of jasmine and lavender filled the air. Alara closed her eyes and took a deep breath, feeling the energy of the place. She began to walk slowly, her feet bare, the cool earth beneath her soothing and grounding. The dance of the moonbeams. Suddenly, the moonlight around them began to dance. It was as if the meadow itself was alive, the light weaving intricate patterns in the air. Alara felt a gentle pull, and she followed it, the villagers trailing behind her. They came to a clearing in the center of the meadow, where a small, crystal-clear pond lay. The surface of the pond was unrippled, a perfect mirror of the moon above. Alara knelt by the pond, her hands trembling. She dipped her fingers into the water, and to her amazement, the water glowed with a soft, blue light. She cupped her hands and brought the water to her lips, drinking it slowly. As the water touched her tongue, a warmth spread through her body, and her mind was filled with visions. The visions. Alara saw the meadow as it had been centuries ago, a place of breathtaking beauty and serenity. She saw the moon goddess standing in the center, her ethereal form glowing with a light that seemed to come from within. Aiden, the young shepherd, was kneeling before her, his heart open and pure. The moon goddess smiled and touched the ground, and the meadow transformed, becoming a sanctuary of peace and magic. Then, the vision shifted, and Alara saw the meadow as it truly was, a place of healing and renewal. She saw the villagers of Eldenwood, past and present, finding solace in the meadow's embrace. She saw the land itself, thriving and abundant, a testament to the moon goddess's blessing. The revelation. Alara opened her eyes, the vision still vivid in her mind. She stood and turned to the villagers, her face shining with a newfound understanding. The meadow's secret is not something to be sought or taken, she said, her voice steady and clear. It is a gift, a reminder of the beauty and peace that can be found within us all. The moon goddess blessed this place for those who seek to heal, to grow, and to find joy in the simple moments of life. The villagers were silent for a moment, digesting her words. Then, one by one, they began to share their own stories of the meadow. An old woman spoke of finding the strength to overcome her grief after the loss of her husband. A young man recounted the time he found the courage to pursue his dreams. A child described the night he saw the meadow come to life, the flowers dancing in the moonlight. The transformation. That night, the meadow seemed to come alive. The flowers swayed to an unseen rhythm, and the air was filled with the sweet melody of crickets and the distant call of a nightingale. The villagers, moved by Alara's revelation, felt a profound connection to the land and to each other. They formed a circle around the pond, holding hands and chanting softly, their voices harmonizing with the natural symphony around them. As they chanted, a gentle breeze swept through the meadow, carrying with it the scent of jasmine and the warmth of the earth. The pond began to glow more brightly, and from its depths, a figure emerged. It was the moon goddess herself, her form shimmering with an otherworldly light. She smiled at Alara and the villagers, her eyes filled with a deep, loving kindness. "Thank you for honoring this sacred place," she said, her voice like the gentle rustling of leaves. "May the meadow continue to be a source of healing and joy for all who seek it with pure hearts." A new beginning. With the moon goddess's blessing, Eldenwood began to flourish. The villagers, inspired by Alara's journey and the meadow's magic, worked together to create a community that was more harmonious and vibrant than ever before. They established a tradition of gathering in the moonlit meadow on the night of every full moon, each time sharing their own stories and experiences. Alara, feeling a sense of purpose she had never known before, decided to stay in Eldenwood. She became a respected member of the community, known for her wisdom and her ability to connect with the land and its people. The meadow remained a place of mystery and wonder, but it was no longer a secret to be uncovered. It was a living, breathing entity that continued to bless the village with its magic. The legacy. Years passed, and the legend of the moonlit meadow grew. Eldenwood became a destination for those seeking peace and healing, a place where the boundaries between the natural and the supernatural blurred. The meadow's magic was a testament to the power of pure intentions and the deep connection between the earth and its inhabitants. Alara, now a wise and revered elder, continued to guide the villagers and new arrivals, sharing the lessons she had learned. The moonlit meadow, with its secret revealed, remained a beacon of hope, a place where dreams were born and where the soul could find its true home. And so, the mystery of the moonlit meadow was not solved, but rather, it was embraced. The meadow's magic lived on, a testament to the enduring power of love, kindness, and the mystical bond between humanity and the natural world. The tale of the quiet valley. In the heart of an ancient land, where the whispering winds carried secrets of the ages and the mountains held stories untold, there lay a secluded valley known as the Quiet Valley. This verdant paradise, hidden from the prying eyes of the outside world by a dense canopy of trees and a mist that clung to its every contour, was a place of profound peace and serenity. The air was always fresh, the water crystal clear, and the inhabitants lived in harmony with nature, unbothered by the chaos that often plagued the world beyond their borders. The valley's guardians. The quiet valley was guarded by a pair of ancient stone statues, each standing at the entrance of a narrow pass that led to the valley's heart. These statues, carved from the very rock of the mountains, were said to be the embodiments of the valley's protectors, two powerful spirits who had vowed to keep the valley safe from harm. The statues were named Eler, the guardian of light, and Thrain, the guardian of shadows. They had stood watch for centuries, their eyes always vigilant, their presence a constant reminder of the sacred nature of the place they protected. The village of Serenity. Nestled within the quiet valley was a small village called Serenity. The village was home to a community of people who had chosen to live a life of simplicity and harmony. The houses were made of timber and stone, their rooftops thatched with reeds from the nearby river. The villagers were skilled in various crafts, from weaving and pottery to herbal medicine and storytelling. They lived off the land, tending to their gardens and orchards, and often gathered around a central fire pit to share stories of old and songs of peace. Among the villagers was a young girl named Alara, known for her gentle spirit and her deep connection to the natural world. Alara was a healer, trained by her grandmother, who had passed down the knowledge of the valley's medicinal plants and the art of soothing troubled souls. Alara's parents had died when she was just a child, and she had been raised by her grandmother, learning the ways of the valley and the importance of maintaining its balance. The arrival of the stranger. One day, a stranger arrived at the entrance of the quiet valley. He was a man of great stature, his clothes tattered and his face weary from a long journey. The stranger, whose name was Kale, had been traveling for months in search of a place of refuge. He had heard tales of the quiet valley, a place where one could find peace and healing, and he had come to seek solace from the troubled world he had left behind. As Kale approached the entrance, the stone statues of Eler and Thrain glowed faintly, their eyes narrowing as they sensed his presence. Kale knew he had to prove himself worthy of entering this sacred land. He stood before the statues and spoke from his heart, sharing his story of loss and his desire to find a place where he could heal and start anew. The statues remained silent, their stony faces unyielding. But after a moment, they stepped aside, allowing Kale to pass. The mist lifted, and the sun broke through the canopy, casting a warm glow over the landscape. Kale felt a sense of relief and gratitude as he stepped into the valley, and he knew he had found the place he had been searching for. The village welcomes Kale. Kale's arrival did not go unnoticed. The villagers soon gathered around him, curious about the stranger who had managed to pass the guardians. Alara, sensing his need, approached him with a gentle smile and offered him a cup of tea made from the valley's healing herbs. Kale accepted the tea, feeling a warmth spread through his body as he drank it. Alara led Kale to the village, where he was warmly welcomed by the community. They provided him with a small hut and offered to help him settle in. Kale was moved by their kindness and decided to stay, hoping to learn more about the valley and its inhabitants. The darkening of the valley. However, the peace of the quiet valley was not to last. A few months after Kale's arrival, strange occurrences began to plague the land. The plants started to wilt, the river's water turned murky, and a thick, oppressive fog began to settle over the valley. The villagers, once so tranquil, began to feel a growing sense of unease. They gathered in the central square, their faces etched with worry, and sought answers from their elders. Alara, who had been spending much of her time in the forest, noticed that the animals were also behaving strangely. Birds that once sang sweetly now emitted harsh, anxious calls. Deer that had once grazed peacefully now skittered through the underbrush, their eyes wide with fear. Alara knew that something was seriously wrong, and she decided to consult the stone guardians for guidance. The guardians' warning. Alara approached Eler and Thrain, and as she stood before them, she felt a deep sense of reverence. She closed her eyes and focused her mind, reaching out to the spirits within the stone. After a moment, she heard a voice in her mind, clear and resonant. Alara, the balance of the valley has been disturbed. A dark force is seeping in from the outside world. It is drawn by the light of the valley, which it seeks to consume. You must find the source of this darkness and restore the balance, or the valley will be lost." Ilara opened her eyes, her heart heavy with the weight of the guardian's words. She knew that she had to act quickly, but she was unsure of where to begin. She decided to confide in Kale, who had shown himself to be trustworthy and resourceful. Kale's insight. Kale listened intently as Ilara shared the guardian's warning. He thought back to his journey to the valley and remembered a dark, foreboding forest he had passed through. It was a place where the trees seemed to whisper of malevolent intentions, and the air was thick with a sense of dread. Kale believed that the source of the valley's troubles might lie in that forest. Together, Ilara and Kale decided to venture into the forest to investigate. They gathered a small group of trusted villagers, including Ilara's grandmother, who was wise in the ways of the natural world, and a young boy named Miro, who was skilled in tracking and had a deep connection with the forest's animals. The journey into the dark forest. The journey through the forest was arduous. The trees seemed to close in around them, their branches reaching out as if to hold them back. The air was thick with a damp, musty scent, and the ground was slick with fallen leaves. As they traveled deeper, the forest grew darker, and the sounds of nature began to fade away, replaced by an eerie silence. Ilara, guided by her intuition, led the group to a clearing where a massive, ancient tree stood. The tree was unlike any they had seen before. Its bark was black and twisted, and its leaves were a deep, furbolic green. At the base of the tree, a pool of dark, stagnant water reflected the twisted branches above. Ilara recognized the tree as a manifestation of the dark force that was affecting the valley. She knew that they had to do something to cleanse the tree and the pool, but she was unsure of how to proceed. Kale, who had studied ancient texts during his travels, suggested that they perform a ritual to restore the balance. The ritual of cleansing. Ilara and Kale, along with the rest of the group, gathered the necessary materials for the ritual. They collected pure water from a nearby spring, white stones from the riverbed, and a mixture of healing herbs and incense. Ilara's grandmother, using her knowledge of ancient rituals, guided them through the process. They formed a circle around the dark tree and the pool, and Ilara began to chant, her voice clear and strong. Kale added his own words, speaking of the light that the valley represented and the hope it brought to those in need. The villagers, moved by their sincerity, joined in, their voices blending together in a harmonious chorus. As the ritual progressed, the air around them began to shift. The darkness that had enveloped the forest started to lift, and a warm light began to glow from the center of the circle. The tree, which had seemed lifeless and malevolent, began to change. Its twisted branches straightened, and its leaves turned a vibrant green. The pool of water, once stagnant, began to flow, its surface reflecting the light of the sky above. The confrontation with the dark spirit. However, the ritual was not enough to completely banish the dark force. As the light grew stronger, a shadowy figure emerged from the base of the tree. It was a spirit of immense power, its form shifting and brooding, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. The spirit spoke, its voice a deep, resonant growl. "Who dares to challenge my dominion? This valley will be mine, and you will all bow to my will." Ilara, undaunted, stepped forward. "We are the guardians of this valley, and we will not let you destroy its peace. Leave now, or face the consequences." The spirit laughed, a terrible sound that echoed through the forest. "You are but mere mortals. You have no power over me." Kale, drawing on the knowledge he had gained from his travels, stepped forward as well. "We may be mortals, but we have the light of the valley on our side. We will not back down." The spirit, enraged, lunged at Ilara and Kale. The villagers, sensing the danger, formed a protective circle around them. Ilara, channeling the power of the valley, raised her hands and summoned a bright, radiant light. Kale, drawing a small dagger he had hidden, stepped forward and plunged it into the spirit's shadowy form. The spirit let out a terrible scream, and the forest was filled with a blinding light. When the light faded, the spirit was gone, and the forest was restored to its natural beauty. The tree, now healthy and vibrant, stood tall, and the pool of water shimmered in the sunlight. The return to the valley. Alara and Kale, along with the villagers, returned to the quiet valley, their hearts filled with a renewed sense of hope. The valley, once again, was a place of peace and serenity. The plants began to flourish, the river's water cleared, and the mist lifted, revealing the valley's beauty to the world. The villagers, grateful for Alara and Kale's bravery, celebrated their return with a grand feast. They shared stories of their journey and the lessons they had learned. Alara, now recognized as a true guardian of the valley, continued her work as a healer, while Kale, having found a purpose in his new home, decided to stay and help protect the valley from any future threats. The legacy of the Quiet Valley. Years passed, and the Quiet Valley remained a haven of peace. Alara and Kale grew old, their bond deepening over time. They taught the younger generations about the importance of balance and the power of light. The stone guardians, Eler and Thrain, continued to watch over the valley, their presence a constant reminder of the sacredness of the land. The tale of the Quiet Valley became a legend, passed down through the generations. It spoke of a place where the forces of light and darkness clashed, and where the courage and determination of a few could restore harmony to the world. The valley, once a secret known to only a few, became a symbol of hope and resilience, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always a chance for renewal and peace. And so, the Quiet Valley remained a place of quiet beauty, a sanctuary for those who sought refuge from the storms of the outside world, and a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit.